Been to Unshin the Broker.
Oh, Unshin the Broker.
Unshin the
Agus tá was Kenosh.
You happy now?
Yeah.
Russ, come on.
Boris, come on, yeah.
Come on.
Agus tá one quarter Frank Will.
Frank
Yeah.
McNabb, yeah.
Well,
He's a friend of. This is that's Frank's friend.
Oh, Brooks.
Yeah, that's him, yeah.
I'm sorry, Brooks, yeah.
Yeah, that's him, yeah.
Sending,
That's him.
Brooks. Agus those millers, the great grandfather. Sending the hanging around.
My name is Senan, and I'm from Roscommon, and I like Frank McNabb. He's my friend, and he likes old machinery, and I like it too. I met him at a good few shows, and he's my friend.
Oh, sorry.
And do you know much about this machine here, do you?
Yeah, the machine behind me is a thrasher. And in the old days, it used to make corn. And it uses a special tractor. So it does. And
do you prefer this type of machinery to the modern machinery, do you?
before this kind of machinery.
Yeah. And are you from a farming background yourself?
Yeah, we kind of have a pet farm, a mini pet farm.
And what do you have on the pet farm? What type?
First, we have alpacas and sheep, and chickens and goats, and a rabbit, and a cat and a dog.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be nice.
You stay there, you'll have a good view of all the mechanics, sir.
Huh? I know, it's just going to be. What will take it out? What will fucking take it out, cat?
Huh?
What will take it out?
I'm going to bring it up along here, okay? Yep. Tight up against that. Tight up against it. Yeah. So it's in square. Tight up against it. This is all tight up against there, okay? And then I'm going to let this down.
Well, my name is Walty Burke. I was born and reared in the parish of Newcastle at the Rye. I live about 5 miles from. I remember thrashers going back to the 40s. I was born in 1936, and I went to school in that time. And that time, the thrasher was pulled by horses, both the thrasher itself and the engine, the stationary engine. So it was pulled from one hagger to another, with 2 horses, one in the mill and one in the engine. So later on, then things improved, and the tractor came out. And it was Ford Fortson tractor with iron wheels. And after a few years, the forts and major came out. And it was always a Garvie mill that was around our place. We had 3 or 4, in my lifetime, we had 3 or 4 different owners, like, when one let it fall out, another but it fall in. So, anyway, when the thresher comes into any house in the village, there were 5 houses in my village, and every one of the village was involved, every man in the village. And every man would do a bit of threshing. They would thresh one stack at a time, like, and they'd have both grain in and straw for bedding and grain for feed until they'd run short again, and then the thresher would be called again. And there was usually 6 or 7 men involved in the operation. They'd have a man in the stack, 2 in the mill, a man on the straw or 2, and a man taking off the corn and putting it into the barn. And there was always a few children knocking about, with terriers and things, mice and rats and things like that. But anyway, in the long run, the combines came along. But I always remember the threshers and the good times. And we used to have, then there'd be the tea for the people that'd be working, and there'd be a pot of jam and a loaf, fresh loaf and everything, and boiled eggs and the tea. There'd be no such thing as bacon and cabbage or anything, because it could be too time consuming and everything else for cooking. And there was always tea. And I had 4 brothers then after that, and another sister. So I stuck with the farm.
Yeah.
I kept the door open for all the went evening. They always come home.
And was it mixed tillage or cattle?
We had cows and we had tillage. We had bees and we had potatoes and we had mixed kind of a farm. But I sold a lot of turf.
Yeah.
And I delivered it up around Kinvara and back as far as Spittle, down to Headford, up into East Galway and local. So and I filled the turf, but myself. So the girls were having a hold up above outside Dungara Castle. And this guard came back to me and he said, "You have no number plate on that tractor." Well, I said, "The only thing I haven't on it now is I was a number plate and a good cab." And I said, "It'll go without either of them." So anyway, he said, "Have you light in the trailer?" I have. I said, "Come back to the back and I'll put on the light for you." So he came around on the inside and he said, "Where are you going with the trouble?" Well, I said, "I don't know where I'm going." I said, "All I have is a number over a door in Kinvara." And I said, "You know, I'm now going up to Kinvara this hour of the evening. All the traffic coming down from Listone Verna, as well as the local traffic. There's no time for looking for numbers over doors." So that was... Anyway, now he said, "I'll tell you where that place is. We'll go up there just above McMahon's supermarket." And he said, "Turn in there to the left. And there's a new housing estate in there," he said. "And that's where the house is." So he said, "That's the best news now we got to do this." So anyway, he said, "Go ahead." And I said, "What about the tax and insurance?" I said, "Well, I show that to the guards and nothing right." Didn't bother it. He said, "Go ahead." So anyway, went down. The traffic was all gone, and I was flying in the whole tractor. And I met the 2 guards going up the road against me after having that day's work done, and the 2 of them took off their caps, and I threw them up in the air. Well, I said, "There's no harm in them 2 men. Like, they understand what people go through." So, anyway, that's that part. That was finished a long time ago too, but you have some people all the time that has them, and even people that bought old threshers and done them up. And they're the people that have shown them now. And that outfit there now, that's what the old forts and major, and The thresher was something like what we had for years. Every thresher that ever came into our place was always Garvie's, and it was always a Fortune tractor, do you know?
Yeah.
So
So it must
that's
brings back a lot.
oh, it does, of course. So
Yeah.
I love to see that now.
Yeah.
Tell you the truth.
And you've given up the farming at this stage, have you?
No, we haven't. So I planted all the land there, nearly all the land there in 1999. That was a partnership with Quilcha. We have a lot of trees down all the same.
Yeah, there must have been some damage done there.
Damage. Sure, I don't know how much damage is done because I can't go into the trees.
Yeah.
But that's a come in, put up a drone, and they'll be able to tell me. But they're going to come and take away the trees that fell through.
Yeah.
But that could be in a year's time. My mother was 99 when she died.
So that's where you get your longevity from then.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. No, she was 99.
Mhm.
So she was in a nursing home for 10 years then, because she wasn't able to look after herself. She wasn't able to look after the family, the kids. And so
That's
I'm into. Do you want to go on it? It's not done yet.
I'm sure it's not running, like.
Well, it will be running soon.
They'll put it running.
I'm only steering it. I'm not even driving it. Well, I have found out it's got 2 brakes. If you want, you can do donuts by pulling them both on at the same time.
yeah.
So this is the boy racer of the 1930s, I would say. But I know nothing about it. There's a giant flywheel for starting it, and that's all what he's told me. I imagine that's the air filter. And I think this is the clutch. I think this is the accelerator, and the gears are really weird. The gears, that's first. That's reverse.
right, go matching. Frank McNabb.
And you've known him for a while, have you?
Sorry?
You've known him for a while?
Not very long, only about a year or two. And he brought me in to see his collection one day, and I was blown away with it. And whatever happened, ideas like the fact that
you're admiring what's there, you see. And he thought it nice to give it a bit of a fresh air, you know. So it took stuff out of the prison for these tractors and threshing machine. I brought them up here, like, you know. And I've never seen a place more appropriate for displaying these equipment, the tractors, old tractors in perfect condition, and the threshing machine that was a fantastic innovation 70 or 80 years ago, and hopefully after a while we'll get the thresher moving, all the parts moving, and at some stage we could possibly have a harvest festival. And I hope I live long enough to wish to that.
Okay. That's great.
The clothing.
Cannot.
That's finishing caver.
Oh, not the game, oh yeah.
That's three fella.
I'm talking Chernock. Caught the good mother the scene, dredging ice.
Oh, been with Bridger of history.
Tom Willis.
Like some of us, yeah, good size. Another hustle, my Harry Gubber and Chin. Or the vehicle. He was sure God cared as the quick board, the Gubber.
Okay, so here.
Quick board, I just know. You've tell the car in the ship.
In the Falklandish.
Neil. And real lucky, because the custard of the station.
Here in Mackinson, the Tom Mullins, he was
The Dredger Christian.
Quite a bit here.
Yeah. Oh, we
Roger Crower, father.
I will not tell you so much. Just say, there'll be some Amsterdam Brauch, there'll be some Druck Amsterdam, some Galway War, it's your just like we try and fuel, you know. Ach, the history had some as an auction, as you call you left for the down. But it's the history is far as her down.
Oh, yeah,
Last machines,
Hussy, Paddy Burkershin.
Postation and festival. Yeah.
Because the commercial traveller and Shin were on I was just the paddy or one.
Fail. Never fail on.
Was a failure upon.
First failure one. Station, okay. Yeah, right.
Well, the Americans come on with on all. I guess trashing the socks of culture.
Oh, right. Yeah, by shaving the arms, you know, it's a culture arms is here America. I guess by shaving the arms, you know, me September.
Has seen on ordinary this stands for shaving machine.
Well, brandy share an arm, like, must really go to a bunch of glass coffee, you know,
but on single, it's
that's right.
It's orchestration.
Sure. Yeah. Like father, like nervous me a current and question. We should attach to the high and tea and deal. And tea talking as a combine to show up Bristol.
Yeah.
And tea haggis as a trash and you should have a Bristol and fall.
I was that's how Reaper and Binder are professional.
I thought so.
Need a sucker cooley. agus couple couple
Oh, shit. Yeah.
couple couple on strand. That's all I'm here.
I just thought she was the fall, all right. She was the fall. That's Sean Jack and the tackling zone, isn't it?
Yeah, well, so aspiration.
That is.
Go meet
Ah, it's a fight for us.
Okay.
Fight for us.
I'm John Joe Burke from Ballyboggle, and we worked at the thresher for years, going back to the 60s and the 70s. And it all finished up then when the combined harvester came. Maybe, well, I remember the late 50s as well now, and into the 60s and into the 70s. And it finished up then around that time. The thrasher, once the combined harvester came, that finished the thrasher. And they couldn't, you see, the combine harvester done the whole lot. They thrashed and took all the old stuff away. What they used to call a metal. That was the old name for the group. Every village, they'd have their own, and there was always one man for farking the stack, and there was a man for cutting the bends, and that was my job when I was a young fella, to cut the bends. The bends that they were all tied by hand at the time, before the rip and binder came. So the rip and binder cut out that was the first thing that started the rip and binder. Before that, it was cut with mowing machines, and they'd make sheaves of it, like. And they'd be fired up onto the thrasher and they'd be tied, and they'd have someone to cut the bends. You'd have to cut the bends, and then the man that would be feeding the thrasher would be able to grab it and put it down the mill. And you'd hear the hum of the mill. You'd hear it 2 villages away, like you'd know the thrasher was coming long before you'd see it. So that was part of the job anyway. Yeah. The man that would have the thrasher, he'd get fed first, and he'd go on to the next house. Like. Every house might, depend on how much, there might be 2 stacks, there might be 3 stacks. but they wouldn't thresh them all together. They'd have two different types. They'd have in the harvest, they'd have a threshing that time, and then again after Christmas, maybe into March, be the next round of threshing. There'd be 2 rounds of threshing. And there'd be so many stacks in the haggard, depending on the size of the farm and how much corn they had. Well, that was part of it. You might have maybe 10 people around the thresher. Well, some of them were very good at it, and more of them didn't want to know. So that was it. Here's the first sector that they bought. Yeah.
You
still has it.
Still.
Yeah.
And
it's a Steyr. Yeah, we bought from
which one?
Huh? Steyr.
Yeah.
So we kept there.
Yeah,
they're made in Austria.
Yeah, I've never heard it. I mean, in Donegal, I never heard.
Popular, yeah.
Yeah.
I have 12 of them now. Yeah. 23 altogether. Yeah.
Oh, no. And
we bought it for £220.
And what year would that have been then?
1969.
No,
Second hand.
Yeah. And it was it was a few years on it even by the time you got it then.
It was 1953.
53, yeah. So it's 70 something years.
Yeah, it was 13 when I drove at that time.
And have you stopped buying, or are you still looking?
I bought one recently now.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
You're a glutton for punishment.
Not fully finished yet.
Yeah, well.
So preparation with the thrasher to come, then the house could be painted and the ceiling could be painted and there'd be waffle work going on, and it was only just a word about that you were letting know the thrasher was coming. And as John just said, there was 2 thrashings. They had one in October and one in spring.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to store all the corn for the winter anyway.
Yeah.
And you'd have fresh straw in maybe for touching the house, you know, as well. You know, which I grew up with as well.
So, but is there a community of people like yourself that still buy, or is it buy machinery like that now? Is there?
I don't buy much now.
So you wouldn't think of opening an agricultural museum or something?
Well, I have a sort of a museum, yeah.
Oh, have you?
I have kind of a one set up, just a sort of a.
And is it open to the public then?
Not really, but sure, there's anyone that wants to come and see it can come and see it.
Oh, well.
It's not long done now, only a couple of years.
Yeah.
Just to get them all, you know, the rain and it's lined up. And
Okay.
some of it, and I have to hold it all.
My name is Frank McNabb. I live over in Bridge here in County Galway. And possibly since I was a child, really, I had an interest in the old stuff. We didn't call it vintage then, it was the old stuff. And I'm from Mayo originally, so back then there was a lot of horses doing the work in the fields. You had the horses and the carts and the donkeys and the horse-drawn ploughs and harrows. And as a child, then the tractors came along. And as a child, I would have remembered the thrashing machine coming into the village. And when the thrasher would be coming, we could get a day off school or 2 days off school. And there could be 10, 15 lads arriving with the thrasher, and that was called the mehel. And we'd go around from house to house, right, in our particular village, and the lads would all start to say our house, we were the first house in the row, then there'd be second house and the third house. And it was just the memories and the fun and the buzz of when the thrasher arrived. I could tell you stories of when one particular house we went into, and back then you wouldn't be getting 7-Up or Sidone or anything like that. So if when the men had come in for dinner, they'd have their big dinner, the lady in the house have the dinner ready, and then you'd have a mug of buttermilk, okay? And I remember one day clearly this lady, and she pulled over the cloth from over this crock where all the buttermilk was kept or was stored. And when she pulled it over, she put down the mug, and up comes the mug with a little mouse inside it. And absolutely no notice taken of it. She just puts her finger in, throws the mouse out the door, out the front door, and nobody's any the wiser, and I don't think anybody died as a result of it. So there was all that kind of stuff. Then probably out of school, I went to college, and then I think back in '93, I would say made my first purchase, and I bought a little miniature steam engine and a thrashing mill and a baler. And my wife and I used to go around to show this for years and years. And then probably after doing so many years, we went and then we got into the vintage cars, and then we kind of said, well, we love the thrashing, and we bought the tractors and the thrashing mills. And it's not, we don't do a load of shows. We don't go around Ireland doing shows. We'll do this one here from Meehall, and we've thrashed at our own house and at a local market day. But it's there's a lot of work involved. There's a lot of work involved in getting the machinery even out of the shed. There's an awful lot of work involved in the maintenance of the machines, and I couldn't do all of that on my own. So
my name is John Killalay, and from the recent day I met Frank, and I've got involved with the thrashing and that, like, because it brings back old memories of my childhood growing up. I'm from Mary, Moore, and I have lots of fond memories of the thrashing, because like that, like as Frank said, it was always a day off from school if you were lucky enough for it to fall during the middle of the week or that, you know. And we coming from a hurling background, I mean, the stack was somewhere we first learned how to hit something flying, basically, because all this, the stacks were always associated with some mice and that, like, you know, and we used to surround them as young guys, gossames, and maybe 5 or 6 years of age, and our hurling's there, and the mice would jump out, and they were fair game. If you could hit them on the ear, like, you know, you were regarded as, and later on we'd be having a competition to see who got the most fatalities or whatever, you know.
yeah.
So this thing now brings back a lot of fond memories for me, you know.
With me, there's no way that I could possibly do what I'm doing if it weren't for John and all the other lads out here. And you know, I just say, I'll just God bless each and every one of them, because I'd ring and I'd say, some of the lads are saying, oh God, what's he at? What's he doing now? But generally, then I'm never let down. The lads come along and we're all in it together, really. We're all in it together, you know.
Yes, because we'd be all of an age group where
Yeah.
we'd be familiar with it, you know, and we'd have grown up and we'd be enthusiastic just to hear the whole hum of the thrashing machine. You know, that's a familiar sound to us all from our childhood and that, you know. That's the reason why we'd like to be associated with it.
And Castlellen is a Castlellen is a
Oh, Castlellen is
a
very
special-
special,
yeah.
very, very special. And it's Michael Keaney that makes Castlellen. And I absolutely just love coming out here to visit Michael. The energy here is beautiful. Just a beautiful place. It's a lovely place. And Michael is very unusual, very unique in that he opens his doors and he welcomes everybody in. And he allows people to see his home. He allows people walk around his house. And he's just a most amazing man. We're totally taken by him. And we are absolutely delighted to be here, to be able to do this at Castlellen. We're getting older. We're getting older. I'd like to be able to continue doing it for the next couple of years, you know. Like while today we don't have the full corn, we're doing straw. You know, like the process starts early enough in the year. It could start around April, and have to do the ploughing and the tilling and sowing the corn and the sowing the oats and all that. And then we cut it with the reaper binder, which is what 1941-42 machine, and that will tie it and throw out the sheaves, and then we can stook it, and then we can take it and put it up onto a stack in the field or in the garden, and then it's left there then for the thrashing day, generally September-ish.
September, October would be the customary time to thrash the corn. Yeah.
Or we could do a winter one.
Yes.
No, we haven't done that.
What would have known as a spring stack, one that be held over from the previous harvest over until the spring and was used for a seed. You know, it was to preserve better in the stack rather than just stored in sacks. So that was, and that would be full of mice, of course. There'd be
And bigger mice.
and bigger mice, yes. So there'd be a lot of fun there.
I'd describe it as we kind of have a slight little disease, but we don't want to find any cures for it.
Yeah.
We enjoy every minute of it. And today was very, very special to be here with me.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And these surroundings, was very special.
Yeah.